Negative gearing is one of the biggest topics in Australian property investing. But what does the new change actually mean? Let's explain it in very simple terms. Negative gearing happens when an investment property costs more to hold than the income it brings in. For example, imagine you buy a rental property. The rent you receive for the year is $30,000. But your costs, like loan interest, council rates, insurance, repairs, and property management fees, add up to $40,000. That means the property made a $10,000 loss for the year. Under the current negative gearing system, many investors can use that $10,000 loss to reduce their other taxable income, such as their salary. So if someone earns $100,000 from their job and has a $10,000 rental loss, their taxable income may reduce to $90,000. That can lower their tax bill. This is why negative gearing has been popular with property investors. But under the 2026 budget changes, the rules are changing for established residential properties. From 1st July 2027, investors who buy established homes after the cutoff time will no longer be able to use rental losses to reduce their wage or salary income. The important cutoff time is 7:30 PM AEST on 12th of May 2026. If an investor bought an established investment property before that time, the property is grandfathered. Grandfathered means the old rules continue to apply to that property. So if you already owned the investment property before the cutoff time, you can continue using negative gearing under the old system until you sell that property. But if you buy an established residential property after the cutoff time, the new rules apply. That means any rental loss cannot be used to reduce your salary or wage income. Instead, the loss may be used against rental income or carried forward to future years. Let's look at a simple example. Investor A bought an established investment property in April 2026. They make a $10,000 rental loss in the year. Because they bought before the cutoff, their property is grandfathered. They may still be able to use that loss against their salary income, just like before. Now look at Investor B. Investor B buys an established investment property in June 2026 after the budget cutoff time. They also make a $10,000 rental loss. But under the new rule, they cannot use that loss to reduce their salary income. They may need to carry that loss forward and use it later against property income or capital gains. So two investors can own similar properties, but the tax treatment may be different depending on when they bought. There is another important point. Newly built homes are treated differently. Under the new policy, investors in new residential builds can still access negative gearing. The reason is that the government wants to encourage more housing supply. The idea is simple. If investors are going to receive this tax benefit, the government wants that investment to help create more new homes, not just increase competition for existing homes. So the new rule creates a major difference between buying an existing property and buying a new build. Established property bought before the cutoff, old rules continue. Established property bought after the cutoff, losses cannot reduce salary income. New builds, negative gearing can still apply. Commercial property is also not affected by these residential property changes. So what does this mean for everyday Australians? For property investors, it could change the numbers. Buying an established property after the cutoff may become less attractive, especially if the property runs at a loss in the early years. For new builds, the policy may make them more attractive to investors because they can still receive negative gearing benefits. For first home buyers, the government's goal is to reduce investor competition for existing homes. But whether that actually lowers prices will depend on interest rates, housing supply, migration, wages, and buyer demand. The key message is this: negative gearing is not completely gone. It is being restricted. Existing investors who bought before the cutoff are protected through grandfathering. Future investors buying established homes after the cutoff will face tighter rules, and new builds will continue to receive more favorable treatment. Before making any investment decision, always speak to a qualified tax advisor or financial advisor, because your personal situation matters. This video is a simple explanation only, not financial advice.